everybody, welcome to another podcast with American Wine Journey. This has been Cody from American Wine Journey and 1723 Vineyards. And on my right, we have David Minnich. He is a wine tasting extraordinaire. I think you'll love some of his comments.
Dave,
yeah,
wine drinker.
I'm a wine drinker. Yeah, tasting is a subjective thing.
And just so that nobody forgets, I'm Gary Moore with Journey More Often and Tipsy Tagalongs. But hey, first things first, public service announcement. If you're drinking, drink responsibly. Don't drink and drive. Don't drink and do anything stupid. Just drink responsibly. Have fun, but, just drink the right way. And so, just making sure that everybody understands the consequences of bad drinking, if you will. Hey, while we're here, we got some people out front there. And you may see people, in back of us because, hey, they're doing tastings today. They're, it's live and going,
People here to see you, man.
Yeah, I doubt it.
Dave.
I think they're here to see Dave.
They are.
No.
They're here
They thought he was going to
Dave.
have his Santa Claus outfit
I
on.
usually warn people we're here on Sundays so that they have the option to come here on Saturdays, not to deal with me.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Really polite.
You are normally here on Sundays.
I am
yeah,
normally here on
that's
Sundays.
true. That's
It's
true.
been a tradition for my wife and I to come here almost every Sunday. Particularly since COVID, because we want we love this place.
Yeah.
And, we wanted it to do well and keep moving.
Thanks, man.
It's
Appreciate the
it's a
support.
great spot to hang out. I mean, literally,
It
to
is.
hang out.
Great.
And,
it's really become a touch point for my wife and I. It's just it's one of those things that became stable in our life. That was, through all the craziness of everything else going on in the world, we could come here on a Sunday and meet with people like you guys and just talk and drink good wine
Right.
and have a downtime from the rest of the world. So.
Exactly. And, where else can you do something like that and not have to pay a lot of money to do it?
Exactly.
I mean, you gotta buy
You got
your
to pay
wine.
some
people.
here.
You gotta
It's
buy
not
your
free.
wine.
No, it's not free. No,
It's not
no.
free, but you don't pay a lot of money. I mean, if you're sitting down,
The whole reason I came here today is I got free glasses of wine. But
Those are free, for sure.
They are? You told me, wait,
But
you
that's
told me
it.
it was
That's-
$10 a glass.
That's it. Yeah, no, that's it.
Oh, so it's free.
But that's
free
it,
for-
exactly, right.
Free for him. All right, let's get this party
Yeah, let's
started.
go. Let's go.
All right. So what we're doing today is we're going to talk to you about how the vessel itself that the wine is finished in, how that affects the taste of the wine. And it does. I mean, there's a distinct difference that as you start to grow your taste buds and in wine tasting and figuring out how, what you like and how things are supposed to taste, it becomes, you can sense it, you can feel it, and, you can taste it. So let's get it started. Ben, you want to introduce us to the first wine here?
Yeah, sure. So actually, let me tee up all three, and then we'll go deep on the
good.
first
Okay.
one.
Okay.
But we've got, it was a Gary suggestion, which I thought was pretty good. How about we talk about and sample some wines that were finished in different formats, to use industry slang. And by formats, we mean different types of vessels. So I've got a marked here for you guys, B, A, and S, barrel, amphora, and stainless. So the B is a barrel-aged 2024 Petit Verdot. So these are still young wines, and this was the first vintage I did the same wine in two different formats. And then the A is the amphora. So we'll get to those are pretty close to, those really are apple-to-apple comparisons. I typically don't do stainless red wines in stainless, nor do many other winemakers, kind of in general. But there's a local winery here called Vala, which we're good friends with, and they make amazing wines too. And although it is a bit out of the norm for them, they made a 2024 wine they call Castana in stainless steel. So it was when Gary suggested we try three. Well, I had to stretch a little bit. Say, well, I guess we could try Tony's wine. It is a very good wine. It is not pure Petit Verdot, so it's not. It is the 2024 vintage, so it's a pretty good comparison. But he blends in Marcelon, which is a relatively new grape that crosses Cabernet Sauvignon and oh my gosh, the big grape Grenache. And it's got Petit Verdot, and it's got some other stuff in it. Of course, that's Tony's kind of inside baseball as what his blend is. I don't know, but I can certainly taste the PV in it myself. Mm-hmm. So it's not quite apples to apples, but I think it is a really nice stainless steel aged wine, and so we poured that too.
So, but in that point, it's not apples to apples, but even still, you're going to be able to taste the difference of how it was finished.
I think so.
Because,
we'll see what you guys think.
It's
I
a
think we
different
will.
red, and we're going to experience something different when we
I'll
taste
coach you.
it.
I'll offer up some comments
Yeah,
as we do it. But
absolutely.
The way I've got the order laid out today is I wanted to start with something that everybody's the most familiar with, which is the barrel aging, and then we'll go to Amphora, and then we'll go to the stainless. And I think what you'll see is greater degrees of astringency and more angular tannins as you move across, because with
Right.
each format you get less and less oxygen exposure. But also with the barrel in particular too, you've got a whole bunch of things going on with the wood that impact the flavor profile.
Right.
One, you've got just the flavors from the toasting of the barrel, things like chocolate and caramel and vanilla and all of these spice flavors. And then as you move to Amphora, you get a lot of roundness from a barrel. But when you move to an Amphora, you get some of the roundness because there is an oxygen exchange, but you don't get any of those. It is pure fruit. You're not getting. A lot of people will say the clay does impart a little bit of a flavor. I kind of think it does, and then stainless does not impart anything. So
Correct. And
also-
just for the record, when we're talking about Amphora, that's the egg-shaped
Yeah.
structure right behind me.
that's clay.
And so we set this up specifically so that everybody who's watching can actually see
Gary
what
just-
it's supposed to look like.
Yeah, we just want people to trip over the wire.
Yeah, well, that too. And to put the smallest guy in there so I don't cover up the entire thing, right? Yeah, I mean, it just can't happen. Anyway, so
But
all right,
how about we start with the barrel?
we're going to
Let's
start with the barrel. All right, talk to us about.
So this vintage, it is a really stout vintage. It's probably the best vintage we've ever had. I didn't pick it because of that, just because I have, there was 3 2024s we could lay out there. But this was actually aged in a barrel that was designed for white wine production, in particular the base champagne wine. So when you make champagne, you start with a base still wine, and then you do a double fermentation. But it's a barrel called Pearl Blanche. It's from the Dalier cooperage, and it's specifically designed for champagne. But I think, PV, it comes across as so astringent, and the tannins are real harsh, and you need something that just adds a little bit of sweetness to it.
Yeah.
And this barrel does that. So that's what we went with for this particular
Now, is this
one.
a
It was a second use barrel.
Second-use barrel.
It was a second use barrel, so you're going to
Okay.
get a modest amount of oak impact. Here in the 24, the wines could definitely stand up to a lot of oak. In general, you have to be real careful with oak on the East Coast because this isn't Bordeaux and this isn't Napa, and the wine profiles, they're just different.
Right.
If you've ever had a wine from any of those regions that hadn't been oaked, like it tastes like grape juice, like it is in an unpleasant way. Like
Yeah,
there's a
exactly.
reason that you use oak because it's just it's very extremely grapey, and you have to tame that. We don't have quite that intensity here because of the rainfall and the potassium in the soil. I'll get to that in a minute. But
Yeah.
anyway, this is the barrel one.
So let's
It's
talk
pretty
about the
good.
barrel a little bit. So, with that champagne being the first introduction into the barrel.
Yeah. It was. This was designed for the barrel. Different Cooper's
Okay,
design. It had red wine in it before too.
Okay. All right.
I don't
so
remember which one, but
how was it toasted then?
It's got a long medium toast.
Okay.
But it's also, you can't see it on the screen, but those are the bigger barrel formats. It's a 500-liter barrel.
This one here?
Yeah.
You can see it on the screen.
Okay. Well,
It's in
that's
back of you. Yeah. That one
the
right
big
there.
one. It's over twice the normal size of a barrel of a quote unquote regular Bordeaux or Burgundy barrel. And what you're doing there is you're reducing the amount of surface contact that the wine has
influence.
with the wood, because you just want to moderate it some. Now, this was a vintage. You definitely could have gone with, some sort of heavier toast and with a smaller barrel, but I mean, you don't know till you bring it in what you got, and so.
Yeah,
but
every year is
I do not
Right, yeah.
regret
Bigger
the barrel.
choices and,
Yeah, no, I don't regret the barrel. I will say too that in terms of the industry in general, most wineries, even the ones in Napa, are moving away from the heavier oak profiled wines. And one of the ones
Anyway,
that I'm really good friends with, a guy named John Caldwell. He introduced Amphora this year too, I noticed. So a lot of people are starting to get on this bandwagon.
John is a great guy.
Now, he's a character.
Yeah, he is that. It's all good. It's all good. Well, so I'm sorry I interrupted.
No, I'm rambling. I'm glad.
No.
No, it's all information. A lot of times we don't get. I mean, people don't realize a lot that there's different size barrels and what that does.
Some of it I make up after I've been drinking, but it sounds pretty authoritative.
That's why Gary likes me, because I can just bullshit about stuff.
He does.
It's like,
He's a good bullshitter, but
it doesn't matter if it's real or not, as long as he thinks it's
a lot of it is. I want to believe.
But it's. I will say this: a lot of people want to. Dive off into neutral oak. People make a big deal out of that now, which means a barrel that's it's post third use, which it no longer imparts any of the components that you typically get from a toasted barrel. Like all that chocolate's gone, all the vanilla's gone, and those to me get too woody. The other challenge you get into with neutral oak, they just get like a sawdust kind of flavor. People say, "Oh, it's neutral oak; it doesn't have a flavor." Like, yeah, it does, and it's real woody. I don't like it. The other problem is the longer those wines stay in those barrels, you know, this wood, like stuff can live inside of that. You get into this musky kind of smell if you use them too much. That's why I really like this Amphora format, because it is clean.
Yeah.
And although it does allow oxygen exchange, like you can use it for the rest of your life until you knock it over. And believe me, that one will die a death. I can already tell you it's going to get knocked over. I just don't know when the sad time will come. But they are very difficult.
That's why we're this far.
They are quite difficult to work with, but they're worth it.
Yeah,
I think.
I didn't want to be that guy, so we moved the.
No, yeah, I'm glad you did, man. Glad you did. But hey, we'll come back to. I would suggest we kind of come back to. Yep. Sometimes it's good.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I would suggest we try this Amphora one, because that's something new and different in most places.
Excited for this one.
Yeah. So clay is a really interesting medium when and people have been using like the egg-shaped concrete or
goes back to Roman times.
Yeah.
So I don't know, at least 2,000 or 3,000 years ago, maybe. We've been making wine commercially as humans for 8,000 years. I suspect that Amphora goes back that far, although I don't know that for a fact.
Yeah, well, if you think about it.
Well, it's
what
clay.
else would you have used?
I mean, it's a lot easier to produce a vessel like that out of clay.
Yeah,
the cooperage, right?
Yeah, the Romans started. I looked it up. I did not know this. The Romans started using barrels about 2,000 years ago when they invaded Gaul. I'm not sure if that's the right word. Took over, came to Gaul, which was now modern day France. It was already being used. Right. Barrels were being used for beer, and they thought this works a lot better than an Amphora because we can roll them and all this stuff. And so then they started using barrels too, about 2,000 years ago. But this Amphora wine, I find that it's a lot more angular. You notice there's a ton more fruit on it. You get a lot more figs. It's a lot less rounded. What's interesting is, and you can tell I've got a little bit of a bias, that barrel will rob you of some of that fruit flavor. Also, too, the wood is interacting with the potassium that's in the wine, and it's raising that pH. So the longer that wine sits in the barrel, that pH starts to creep up and creep up and creep up, and we have to keep a really close eye on it. And sometimes we have to actually add acid back to it to keep the pH below 4, because above 4, you have risk of microbial
activity,
spoilage.
Yeah.
And anyway, I think the nice thing about the Amphora is you don't get that creep up, because there's no interaction with the wood and the potassium and all these other things, and so it's a bit more neutral. But you've got a lot of people. We've got 2,000 years of wine drinking that as humans we've been trained to really like the marriage of oak and red wine. It's not going away anytime soon. But look at the color too. Look at the rim. I know you can't see this on TV, but look at the color. What you got to do is you got to look at the very edge. In fact, it's even better if you look at it down this way. Look at how much darker that Amphora wine is on the edge. So it's somewhat darker than the barrel aged one. That's the oxidation.
Yeah.
The barrel got a lot more oxidation.
Wow.
And that makes it more round. And so now, and then a stainless one will have the least amount. It has no oxidation at all. There's a couple of tricks you can use in stainless. You can buy a micro oxygenator that actually does put some oxygen in there. I have no idea if Bala does that or not. It's not my business.
You're talking about actually forcing.
Yeah, you
forcing
do.
oxygen.
You do. Yeah.
Lack of a better description, an aquarium, right?
or Gabriel freaks out. They say, "Oh, Gabriel, we can just open the tank up and leave it open for about a week." What do you think about that?
He does do that. Yeah.
I wouldn't do it, but I like to say shit like that because it freaks him out.
Yeah, it does freak him out. It's but
he thinks I'm serious.
He's a good red wine maker for sure.
Oh, for sure. No, Gabriel Rubilar is our consulting winemaker, and I mean, I do some of the grunt work. He does some of the grunt work and all the brain work, and anyway. But I will take credit for the Amphora. That was my idea.
No, when I saw that first appear, I was like, "Ooh, Ben's at it again. He's tinkering. He's tinkering."
Can you feel how much more tannin that's got on your tongue?
Yeah.
Like now, my tongue is quite dry.
Yeah.
These are the type of wines. I mean, for me, and again, I could be talking
No.
complete crap. But heavier fat items like
For
a
sure.
fatty steak. I mean,
Or
this is the
lamb or
kind of
something
thing,
like that.
where-
And see, and that's the thing. Back to that barrel thing. In a difficult year, that barrel is robbing you of tannins and acidity that you desperately need. Now, this was an amazing year, so of course it stands up well to the barrel. But like you go back to some of our tough years, like 2018 and 2020, putting it in new oak is robbing that wine of that fruitiness and that acidity, because you're losing acidity in that barrel that you are not losing in that amphora. And in a difficult vintage, I think amphora is going to be the only way to go. I think in these better years, it's probably a combination of amphora and oak, and maybe you keep some of them separate for fun because it's quite fun to taste side by side. But I actually think that the best representation might be to blend the two of them back together at the end in various. I'm not doing that.
Percentages.
Yeah,
Right.
but I'm saying that I think in a normal year, I'm thinking that it's a combination of those two. So you can have to, I'm making this up, half to a barrel, half to an amphora, some
Right.
percentage to each, and then put it back together. But I'm also thinking in a difficult year, I think like if I wish I'd had these amphora in 18 and 20 because
Right.
those were tough years to be putting wine in barrel, because you can see it just rounds it. I mean, if you don't starting with a lot of tannin
Right.
and a lot of acidity, which you don't have in a wet, cool year, then you're creating a wine that's too soft. You know,
Right.
it's flabby. You know, it just doesn't stand up like what I want it to stand up. This vintage was not an issue, but anyway, you get it. You can go back and forth between the two and just.
double fisted, man.
That one's real round, and then that'll make you reach for a glass of water. That amphora one, which a lot of people I like that.
This is what I like. Yeah, I mean that's kind of my style wine.
Yeah.
And the flavor profiles have changed since
Right.
Oh, for sure.
since the last
Since
time.
the last time, definitely.
Yeah, that was back in the summer, so they've had they're
much more time. And
6 months older, and the wine will evolve. The wine evolves quite rapidly, in my opinion, for the first 24 months, and then after that, the evolution is much more measured. It certainly evolves. Wine is we like to say it's a living, breathing thing. It's not really living, but it is breathing.
right.
It is truly
It is
breathing in the
definitely
bottle.
breathing.
And no, so
Well, one of the things that to me, when I taste the amphora in its slightly different profile, you asked the question, which one do you prefer?
right.
And back then, you said the amphora.
I was
Yeah, back
definitely
then, I
full
said
school Amphora
I said the
before.
barrel. But if you ask me the same question today, I like the amphora.
yeah,
Right.
I know, Sarah. I wanted to. Of course, you have to be careful as a grower and wine grower to be. You got to care about your customers, and both
Right.
you guys are our
Right.
customers, extremely valuable customers. I mean that super sincerely. So you can't ignore your customers, but
We
at the
have
same time
value.
too, you want to. But that's what Sarah reminds me, because I would love to just go to Amphora, period.
Right.
But Sarah's like, well, now Ben, you remember when we did that tasting, it was basically 50-50 in the room. I
Right,
mean,
it
just
was,
kind of
it
roughing
was.
it.
Well, I think a lot of that also goes back to expectations. You know, what we've grown up
I think that's
with,
right. I
How
think
we've
that's excellent.
how we've had wines, right? Most of us, when we go to the liquor store or whatever, we're buying a barrel aged wine.
Of course, yeah.
You know, especially
Virtually
red.
all of them will be.
So you know, amphora is not commonly available. I mean, you can find it, but it's not anywhere
It'd be quite
near
rare.
as- right.
I don't even.
Incredibly rare, yeah.
Right. So this is the flavor. The barrel age is the flavor profile we're used to. That's the one that brings us back to, you know, why we got into wine in the
Yeah.
first place.
Yeah.
And if you're the and I don't mean this in any snobby way, because I'm not an expert, but if you're the casual wine drinker, you just want a good bottle of wine, you go with what
You know.
you know.
That's right.
Yeah.
You go
That's
with
right.
what you're
Yeah.
used to. You know, how many times do
Yeah.
people find a wine they really enjoy, and you know, I don't care whether it's $10 or $50 bottle or $100 bottle of wine. They both might, you know, they'll
That's
go back
exactly
and
right.
buy that bottle again because they know they enjoy
That's
it.
exactly
Right.
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 When you get something like an amphora, it changes the profile enough that it challenges your tasting. Okay. And I'm not saying challenging in a bad way, but in challenging in that it is less familiar to you than what you had tasted with the other one.
I think that's
Yeah, that's a
So-
great point. Really, it is a
And,
great point.
You know, and it's not going to be for everybody. That some people want
Well,
their comfort zone,
But if
right?
you don't give somebody something
Exactly.
different, they don't know if they like it or not.
Exactly, and
Right?
it's a growth thing. I mean, I think most of us, I mean, maybe Ben not, but most of us grew up drinking like crap wine, right? We grew up with the,
I drink,
you know,
I grew up
Andre,
drinking,
you know,
I,
Boone's
drink,
Farm,
I,
you know.
I grew up drinking whiskey.
Right. Well, I did too. Okay. I mean, I did
stole
too.
it from my
So,
dad.
you know,
My dad bought it by the case, and I could just get it on a Saturday night. I could just grab a bottle out of that big box. He wouldn't even know it was gone.
Oh my
So,
gosh.
and I
Literally
hate to
bought
say
it.
it's growth because
Yeah.
that kind of diminishes
No,
people's
no, it's-
personal attitude.
Yeah.
Okay. But we do evolve in our tasting styles, and as we evolve, it's good to be presented with new ways or new things
Expand.
to expand that.
Exactly.
evolution,
Well,
right?
yeah, totally. Now, I will say this too. A lot of it depends on how much of it you're going to drink. Like, I think if you're going to have, and I'm not saying you're going to get drunk, but let's say you're planning on, you know, a multi-hour dinner and prep, and I'm like, if you drank 3 or 4 glasses of this, your palate's going to get tired. You
Yeah,
know, that's
yeah.
the thing. And I think that's why some people still prefer a barrel-aged
Right.
wine. It is
Yeah.
softer. I mean, it's remarkably softer.
So yeah, and
It's not going to tire your palate out.
Well, as a whiskey drinker, right?
Yeah.
There's your sipping whiskeys, the ones
That's right.
you pour off into a small glass, and you
Yeah.
spend an hour drinking,
Yeah.
you know, essentially a shot of it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then you got your shot whiskeys, or you know, I won't say that, but you know, ones where
Well, you know, the cheaper ones
the cheaper
you're
ones-
making an old fashioned and
Right.
putting much sugar with it, which is not
Yeah.
bad. Make them all the time.
Right. Oh, I love old
And then
fashioned.
those go down pretty
Those
fast.
go down pretty
Yeah.
quick. So
Yeah,
it's
those
the
go
same
down
kind of
fast.
thing here, where you know, to approach the wine, you have to go with the, you know, what you're eating, what you're drinking, what you're doing, and what your expectations of
Right.
that time is going to be.
Yeah, I totally agree with you guys. I think, you know, if we're going to have both in one sitting, right?
Right.
This is your fireplace wine and appetizer wine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then this is your dinner wine.
that's right. That's I think
know,
that's
yeah.
right. That
So-
really powerful one with that really, like Dave said, it would
So-
you would only serve that with a pretty fatty meal.
Right. Yeah.
But-
It's-
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm already thinking of possibilities.
We should
you know?
try. We should try this stainless one.
All right. I'm up for it. These
definitely
two are
different
but
on the nose.
These
I
were
mean,
definitely
What
good. All right.
now, again? This is Tony Vitri over at Vala made this one. I can't represent what he does other than I really like it. But what I find different about this wine is you feel the acidity on that. How much higher? I mean, that to me is a much higher acid kind of wine, and the tannins are even more angular than what you see inside the Amphora.
This is sharp.
It's sharp.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he designed it that way, right? But this is, and it's not 100% comparison. It is the same vintage. It has at least some Petit Verdot in it. I don't know how much, but this is a great one. It's a great wine, and it's
Yeah.
stainless. And so I thought, well, this is the one wine I have to offer. I mean, I take that back. I do have a bunch of what we call topping wine in stainless,
Yeah,
but this is this random blend of stuff left
Right.
over,
Yeah.
tails of wine. That like this is not going to be very. They never see a barrel. We just use that to top the barrels with. But like this was a nice premium wine, and
Yeah, plus
I really
it-
like this
yeah.
too.
No, it's very nice.
We know these guys make good wine.
Well, they make fantastic
So,
wine. I mean, Tony's
yeah.
consistently. I mean, you see all these things. He's widely considered one of the top 100 wineries in America, which is quite remarkable. And the only guy that gets those
Right.
kind of accolades in on the East Coast.
What he does with that number of acres is
Yeah.
It's
phenomenal.
right?
So great guy too. Really great guy. But I just it is. But you can really tell the difference.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and this wine,
Yeah.
to the
Oh,
extent
yeah.
our listeners, this is his Castana wine, the 2024 vintage, and. As I say, you have to talk to him or his team about why they chose to do stainless. That's not their norm. I know what some of his norm is because I can taste the same barrels. I know we use the same Cooper at least
Right,
for some of those wines. But
Yeah.
But he did this one all in stainless. It's really good, but
Yeah.
it's even more angular, and you see that acidity is like it's really there. And that which could be quite good for certain. He loves. Of course, Tony's family's from northern Italy, and kind of northern Italy is a big deal for him, and you could really see that going well with northern Italian cuisine.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, this
for
is-
sure. For sure.
I've come over the years to know that my wife and I have very different palates. Okay, it's not that we dislike, or change. What we pick up on is completely different.
Yes.
And this is much more one that I think my wife would enjoy because it has that. It has that angularity. It has that acidic quality that I often associate to the white wines.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this would be her
Right.
style.
Yeah,
And then if I presented this one to her, the Amphora one, quite honestly, she would tell me it tastes like water. Because when her tannic levels or her,
Yeah.
get too high, that thing here, it literally cuts her palate off.
Yeah.
So
There's an interesting book. It's called "Why You Like the Wines You Like." It's Tim Haney is the guy's name, and in his research, what he's done quite a bit with a food science professor up at Cornell, and the vast majority of that preference comes down to the number of taste buds per square inch on your tongue, the relative density of.
Right.
And women on average have a higher density of taste buds than men. Now that's not an absolute truth. I'm just saying if you got 50
Right.
women and 50 men, and the women would have more. Doesn't mean that women can taste more. It's kind of like being Irish and being light skinned and having
right, sensitivity to hot
versus
food.
or versus being I don't know Greek or from Sicily or something like that. Chances are you tan pretty well.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know. So
I didn't realize Cody was an Irish name.
oh yeah, absolutely.
where-
Codys are from Kilkenny.
Oh,
Came over in
Kilkenny.
1720.
Ooh,
Yeah, there's a
1720.
singular. That name originates from a singular family.
Okay.
In Kilkenny, Ireland.
Well, more originates from the same island, I believe.
Yeah.
And-
yeah.
We're just mutts. I have no idea where I'm
Minnich?
apparently. Well,
Oh,
it sounds German.
Germanic. Yeah.
It's definitely Germanic, but actually, family lore says we're mainly Welsh. That the last name got Germanicized.
Coming over.
Yeah. So it was originally
Ellis Island, yeah.
Yeah, it was originally Minnich or something like that.
Oh.
So if you look
Sure,
at my
they
eyebrows,
got it.
I have Welsh eyebrows, the ones that go out like forever.
Anyway, but what do you guys think?
like wings on a plane.
Yeah, exactly.
If you
What do you
don't-
guys think of the stainless one?
I really like it.
It's very
actually.
nice.
Yeah.
I do too. I like it a lot. It's yeah, it's good. It's I like the acidity on it. You could see it cutting through a lot of stuff, but also going with things that were tomato intensive. Like so many Italian dishes, but especially the northern
Yeah,
Italian
yeah.
stuff has got a lot of that. Really acidic sauce, and they could really
Yeah.
those.
It kind of pairs well with
And
it.
it doesn't like drag you down either. So
Right.
No,
that's
yeah.
This is the
kind
type of
light
thing.
and it's
My
sharp.
wife's a fan of wine and salad. Okay.
Yeah.
I like the first part of that.
Yeah, right.
I'm a fan of wine.
So, when we do those kind of
Sounds
things,
okay.
it's she'll kind of get a oil and vinegar based
Oh, yeah.
dressing. So
Yeah.
that'll go well with this.
Extremely.
I'm the blue
Mediterranean.
cheese dressing guy. So
Yeah,
you know,
exactly. Exactly. The Amphora is
back
doing
to
the
the
blue cheese.
Amphora, right?
Yeah, yeah.
so-
I got it. I totally agree with that philosophy because you're looking at the Mediterranean style wine
Right.
goes with Mediterranean style food. There's
Yeah,
a reason for that.
Right,
It's
right,
not
exactly.
accidental, right?
Yeah, what I will say too is that just watching or tasting all these just reminds me how good 2024 was.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
it was just
Oh, these are
here
nice.
locally, and I would say even just regionally, but especially just here in southeastern PA is the best vintage anybody's we've ever seen.
I've heard
So-
that from a number of sources.
and just the fact that
Yeah.
we're sitting here drinking 24s from. Like one bottle, I've already put one out. I've got enough inventory. I'm going to sit on mine for a while. But like these things already drinking, I mean, it's just so remarkable to have red wines that are, I mean, not even 18 months old.
It's good.
that are drinking like wow.
And the vintage will do that.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's great.
I mean,
it's great.
Yeah. So
it was everything was perfect that one year.
So we all have to hang on and wait because if he's holding on to it, we have to wait for it.
We
to
have
come
to
out,
wait,
you
right,
know.
yeah.
He might dole it out like in small.
Well,
small batch doses.
the thing is, yeah, sure, for sure, I'll dole it out. But these are pretty small batches to begin with.
Right,
I
yeah.
mean, I think we've had everybody in the wine industry knows that consumption is a little different than what it was, and so we've all had
that's true.
we've all had to scale consumption commensurate with. We have to scale production commensurate with consumption these days.
Right.
So, but I'm doing my part. I know you guys are too. So just
Yeah,
need
yeah,
everybody
yeah.
else
We're trying to
need
keep
everybody
it,
else
you know,
to pick up the pace. a
Pick
little
up the
bit.
pace,
Pick up
people.
the pace,
yeah.
yeah.
So how do we get, all right, so this is the interesting part. How do you get the next generations involved? Because I think they're starting to slow down their drinking. I mean, realistically, my parents and my parents' parents, they were probably drank too much. Not my parents personally, but those generations.
Well, there has been a
It's so-
shift.
My parents listen to these things. So I'm not going to say
Yeah.
anything.
Well, you already ratted yourself out with the whiskey coming out of the box, and he would never know.
Yeah.
But how do you share? Because this is more of an adventure, to be honest with you. When you're tasting these side by side,
Yeah.
it's not drinking for drinking's sake.
Yeah.
It's drinking for
Right.
tasting.
They're coming. There's been a lot written about it. They're coming. The younger generation's coming around. They're just finally now making enough money they can start drinking it. I mean, for the longest time, the industry was freaked out, thinking that young folks wouldn't do it. But people generally don't start consuming wine in any kind of volume if they're going to be a wine drinker till they're at least 35.
Right.
And actually, believe it or not, the peak year, if you want to know the peak year of wine consumption, is 61 years old.
Damn, I'm past my
Really?
peak.
On average, 60. There's. On average,
I better
not
start
saying-
slowing down.
I'm not saying everybody is different, but the peak
Is it-
wine drinking year for the average person is 61 years old.
So when you say the peak, is that the volume consumed or
Volume.
Is that, okay.
No, it's the volume because
'cause-
what happens? Because what happens is
or the ability to taste good wine?
no. In particular, people drink wine before then, but in particular, as we all age, most of us become more health conscious. And wine is, I'm admittedly biased, but I would contend is the healthiest
Red wine,
alcohol
yeah.
Right.
choice that you can make. And there's a lot of great health benefits from both white and red, but especially red with antioxidants. And so
Yep.
you hit that peak or that age, and you really. I mean, let's face it. When you get to be 61, or even I'm not quite there, but you start to really, start to kind of think about your own mortality. And so you want to enjoy yourself, but you want to enjoy yourself in a way that hopefully is if not, it's certainly not detrimental to your long-term health, and maybe even slightly helpful.
That's a new definition of drinking responsibly.
But so the younger generations are coming on. The bigger challenge that they've had is just where there's almost no interest across the board is in I would just say cheap wine. I don't
Right.
know.
Right.
That could be different things for different people, but the cheaper the price point, the less that stuff's moving these
Well,
days.
I think a lot of the cheap alcohols, if you go back to where we were as kids.
Yeah,
right?
I know all those brands you were talking about.
Right.
Oh, they were.
I bought them for my girlfriends.
A lot of it was, wasn't an intent to have a moment of time where you're drinking something fine and enjoying the moment.
Right.
Quite honestly, you're trying to get drunk, or you're trying to
back
do
then.
something,
Yeah,
right?
back then. Yeah.
Back then, you had your choice of your cheap hard liquors, and your cheap wines, and obviously beers. And the beer selection was pretty limited, and really took a lot
Indeed.
to get you there, right?
Yeah,
Because
that's
most of them were
probably-
4%ers, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you're now at the wine or the hard liquor stage. Hard liquor, the cheap stuff, is astringent as hell, right? I mean, most of it's just
You
gonna
got to water it down
cheap
with
wine-
a Coke or a Sprite or something like
cheap
that.
wine, on the other hand, it was kind of reminiscent of eating, your old Welch's or Kool-Aid or something. So
Yeah.
it was palatable. So if you wanted to get drunk, that's what you
Welch's
drank.
that had just turned. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Exactly.
Nowadays, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on how you look at these things, right, you got all your spritzers and all your canned things and everything else that kind of meet that need
Right,
at a
right.
much. It's at a cheaper point sometimes even than the cheap wines, right?
Oh yeah, because all that is it's a little bit of vodka or some sort of
Right.
distilled spirit, high proof vodka, and carbonated water, and a little bit of a drop or two of some sort of flavoring. And look, there's
Sugar.
nothing wrong with drinking it. I mean, it's not bad for
no.
it. But I'm just saying, you can. That is a extremely cost effective.
But I think
beverage.
the shift,
manufacturer,
the
trust me,
shift
is
isn't
extremely
only
cost
in
effective.
isn't only in the economics. It's in presentation of what's available and what's conditioned.
That's true. There's a lot more available.
What's
now.
conditioned your palate at that point?
Yeah.
Okay. I started off drinking cheap wine. Mainly, I was never much of a party or drinker, that kind of thing. And don't get me wrong, I drank, okay, and I still drink, but I was never much into the drink for the sake of getting drunk thing.
Right.
'Cause one thing, I'm a depressive drunk, so nobody wants to be around a depressive drunk. Right? I start
Note
going,
to self.
I start going philosophical and kind of talking about all end of life stuff. Like, this is not what you want from a drunk experience.
I didn't see us going there, but
Yeah,
you know,
but no. So it's.
But yeah, I hear what
what
you're
I'm
saying.
saying is, like, I started off my adventures. Actually, I grew up with whiskey. My
Yeah.
parents drank Jim Beam. It was I
Yeah.
went to the
Yeah.
liquor store. You got a
Yep.
fith of Jim Beam, which for the price point isn't terrible.
It's all right. Man. I drink a lot of it. I drink a lot. of
And
it.
we had wines at at your at your family functions or your holidays.
Yeah.
And the wine selections were white or red. There was really no differentiation between the whites and the reds outside of, the whites were whites and reds were reds. What they were, I don't know. We did drink a lot of Liebfraumers and Gewürztraminers, the German whites.
Yeah.
But you didn't know what it was for most part.
No, that's true.
And then we had
You just
beer.
drank it because it.
Now, fortunately, when I was entering college, beer started becoming a bigger thing. Like the craft beers
Yes,
started appearing.
Yeah,
Okay?
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that was fun because suddenly there was an expansion. And again, we talked about this before. Like I like to learn and appreciate new ways of presenting these things. So beer was a big thing there for me for a while because that was the only one that I found an affordable outlet to go try.
Well,
and
yeah,
you
you
see that with the craft beers
And
10, 15 years ago.
And I
still.
think in this area, they were the first to start expanding into
Right.
something better.
Oh,
Yes.
for sure.
Yeah,
Pennsylvania's
for sure,
at the
yeah.
forefront
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah.
Well, y'all are hitting on the really interesting thing, which is during COVID, or during the COVID era, it didn't have anything to do with COVID per se. The marketing team at Penn State teamed up with the viticulture department, which is viticulture is the form of agriculture where you grow grapes, right? And the marketing team teamed up with them, did a bunch of survey work, and they said, well, who's drinking Pennsylvania wines? And what they found was it's really three things. One, the Pennsylvania wine drinkers are already.
There's at least two back there.
At least
Right,
two back
right,
there.
right, right.
One,
Well, there's at least two that admit it. Go
yeah,
ahead. All right,
yeah.
so one.
the Pennsylvania wine drinker is already a wine drinker. So don't bother trying to convert somebody that's a beer drinker to a wine drinker. Two, they're into local, so they're already predisposed to want to buy and try local things. But three, and this is the most important part, they like to try different stuff. And it is amazing how much, once that, and I kind of knew some of that, but once they framed it that way,
Yeah.
and just the more I hang out with people, friends and people that, and people in the tasting room that are maybe will be friends later that I just, acquaintances, that I've just met, it's universally true. People want, and you've been sitting here talking about it for the last 30 minutes today, which I think it's so awesome.
Because
because you want to try different stuff. That is if you think about the people that are enthusiasts, and we are so grateful for them of our industry here.
Right.
They want to try, but my point in all that is why you got to keep being inventive with these
right, yeah.
formats.
That's how this got.
You want to have a
Right.
cornerstone of
about.
things that like, oh, that's my favorite. I want to come back. I want to try that. I know that's there every year, but you've got to offer people different things to keep them coming back.
Keep them coming back, right,
Because
yeah.
there's an appetite to try different stuff. And
Right.
of course, on the production side, that makes
That's hard.
Well, but it makes it challenging. But it's a challenging
Yeah.
in a good way because that's what inspired me with the Amphora. It's like, all right, well, let's do this and let's do that, and you try different blends. And I mean, trying different grapes we do too. That is expensive and lengthy, a very lengthy process.
Right.
Because you've got, let's say you plant them, you get a crop off of them in year 3. You need to age them a couple of years. I mean, you're 5 years into this thing before you even know if anybody's really going to like it. So
Exactly.
you can do that, and you should, but that's going to be a relatively small portion of your quote unquote your budget for experimentation. It's more. That's why I like these formats.
Yeah,
things
and it's
better.
not like the whiskey industry where they've got the formula and it's all good, and so they can let it sit in for 25 years.
Yeah, it doesn't go bad, right?
But-
I mean, it does
Right.
evaporate.
But it's this total level of experimentation that people don't realize that you have to every year is
Every
new.
year's different,
Every
right.
new year is new because 2024 has a good yield. 2025, you don't know what you're going to get until you get what you get. So it's like this moving, there's moving target that you're trying to hit every year, and you want to be inventive and do something new on top of that.
You do.
And then you want to add a 5-year wine into it, which is like crazy if you think about it. People are people, and they don't realize that that's a long time for a wine.
It is.
And it's a long time to wait. From a business perspective, it's a long time to wait to recoup
is.
your money
Oh, yeah.
for it.
Lot
from.
A lot of storage costs, a lot of sunk costs in that before
You
you,
got
get
a
it
lot
out
of
there
money
in front
into
of
it
people, right?
before somebody starts to buy that first bottle or that first tasting or that first glass. So that it's crazy because it's not like the whiskey industry. It's solid. It's tried and true. Everybody knows it. And so is beer, by the way. So beer's the same thing. You got a recipe. You got to make the same almost every time. Wine is every year.
Yeah.
Well,
Every
beer's
year.
even easier.
You're not
because-
back. You're not at square one but you can't just use what you did last year because it's not the same.
Part of the reason you see so many IPAs and pale ales in the beer industry, I think it's like a 7-day turnaround.
Exactly.
There is that.
So it's cost effective and
so
you can easily experiment.
If you want to experiment, I wasted 7 days. Whereas
Exactly.
if Ben throws something in
5 years later,
right? Yeah. Well, even if it's a year,
an extra year.
Sometimes this stuff doesn't turn out that well. I don't ever talk about the shit I send up to Mario Almaza and say, "Hey, distill this for me." I mean, it's like, "Oh, well, that was a great idea." Until he's like, "No, nobody likes this."
Right.
Can you get me some brandy out of this?
Yeah, no, you usually can, but you have to be ready for. You have to be. I mean, that's the thing is, when you experiment, you're not going to be successful every time. You cannot. That cannot be your. That's just not
exactly.
It's called an experiment for a reason. But thankfully, this Amphora thing has kind of worked out. In fact, we bought a second one. I'm actually going to do a white wine in it.
Okay.
We'll see how that goes. I'm a little more skeptical of whether it's going to be any good.
I did,
but we'll see.
When we were up in the Finger Lakes region, a couple vineyards up there were experimenting with the Amphoras and such. And I know we had, and I think I brought you back a bottle, Ben. Not that I'm putting you on the spot, but what's the big one up there? Dr. Frank Constantine.
Frank Constantine.
Yeah. So he did a Arcatatelli, which is a Georgian white, if I believe.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
So they did it both in the stainless and both in they did both in the stainless and in the Amphora.
So is that Georgia, the
country?
That's I just wanted to.
No.
Let
That's
people
fine.
understand.
I mean,
because I was like, okay.
You go back to the history of wine. Places like Georgia and stuff have been producing wine a lot longer than some of the other regions that are so-called famous regions, right?
Yep.
But they did an Arcatatelli that was in both the stainless aged and the Amphora aged.
Okay.
And it was interesting because I really appreciated the Amphora aged one. My wife really appreciated the stainless aged.
I liked that too. You were kind to bring me bottles of both. I liked it too. I will say what people love people love these stainless steel whites. I mean, we turn them fast.
Oh.
We sell them
Yeah.
on purpose. We sell them when they're
fast.
fresh, they're
Right.
young, they're vibrant,
Yep.
all those things. So I think it'll sell okay, but I don't think it will be a style that people associate with 1723. I don't think it's anything we're going to be embarrassed of. But I'm a little. I'll tell you what it will be. It will be like what it is to you, which is a white wine that appeals to a red wine drinker.
Exactly.
And there is it's good, but there is a limited market for
that. Right?
There
No,
really is. There's how many of us are there?
I don't know. Yeah, I've got a good friend of mine. He's always like opening these big oaky. He's out in California, opens these big oaky Chardonnays by his pool. That's his pool drink. I'm like, yeah, dude, you're. I mean, of course, then he just segues into some big Napa cab. I'm like, you're. It's just so we'll see. But I ultimately I'm increasing our Amphora inventory. I mean, I thought it would be fun to do a white.
I'm excited. To be honest
humoring
with you.
Gabriel more than anything else. But then we'll start. We're going to do more and more in Amphora. And as I say, I don't know whether they'll be side by sides like what this PV will be, or it'll be something that we start
independent
doing back blending where it's a combination of the two. I got the idea on the back blending. James Suckling is a wine critic, and normally I don't put much like faith or stock into wine critics because anybody can be a critic, but he bought a vineyard down in New Zealand a few years ago, and so he threw his hat in the ring, and I really respect that.
Put his money where his mouth is. Literally, I think
it's Pinot.
It's easy to crap on someone else's stuff, right?
Well, and in fairness, he's actually quite competent. I mean, I've never seen. I mean, he's pretty.
No, I know.
But it's all Pinot Noir, and I'd already bought my Amphora and was done. But what he does is he does half and half. So his Pinot production, he does half in Amphora and half in a barrel, and then puts them back together. And so I thought, I've been thinking about that too. And so we'll see how that goes. I mean, obviously we do blending trials for a reason, but I have a hypothesis that will be kind of the predominant style for us going forward.
So you'll experiment on the percentages to see.
Yeah,
what
and look,
makes...
I mean, maybe putting them together may not even yield what I think it will yield. We'll have to see. But then if it does show promise, then you'll have to dial in the percentage, and I'm sure that would vary on a vintage by vintage basis. But it may not work at all. I don't know, but I have a hypothesis that will be where we land.
I think it will work. I think the one thing that's interesting is I don't think you're going to be at 50-50 by any stretch. I think you're going to be at least 60 to 65.
One or the other.
Yeah. So, and that depends on the flavor profile, right? What you're looking for.
The vintage will be a big,
exactly.
Like we were talking about earlier, the vintage in these wetter, cooler years, I think you want a lot more Amphora. But in a really blockbuster kind of year like 24, you probably want to go a little more barrel.
I do like the white in the Amphora, just
We're
for
gonna find out,
for
yeah.
fun, because I've had white in Amphora before. Well, in clay,
That's
it was like a 300-year-old thing over in Spain. But you're tasting those, and it has a distinct flavor.
They did.
It
yeah.
really does. And I'm a red
red
wine
wine drinker, right? Yep.
Who, and
Yeah.
your Albarino here, right?
Well, this one is going to be it's pretty remarkable. It's about 40% Chardonnay, about 30% Albarino, and then about 30% Viognier.
Yeah, so that-
this what's going in that.
But
What's going in that?
I like that opportunity, because it does like you said, it adds something new for people to taste.
Yep.
And it may go to a smaller group of people, but it may not.
It's going to be
you
small
never really
batch.
know.
It's 500 liters, which is divide that by 0.75, and that's your bottle count. So
Right.
I don't know. It's less than a pallet of wine. It's not a lot of wine, so it'll be easy to move. And if it's wildly popular, then I'll make a bunch of it.
Yeah.
But it's easy to experiment. Small batches.
Small batch, right? Yeah.
Small batch, yeah.
Well, and look, hey, economically too.
Small batch in
scarcity.
wine.
I mean, scarcity kind of works too. I
Small
mean,
batch single barrel wine.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, we do some single barrels. We do. I have
I know.
You have the-
I've got a barrel. What is it?
you have
Barrel
the little
5
ones
still at
around
home
here
or
somewhere,
whatever.
right?
Yeah.
You have
I
those
do. I do
teeny
do.
barrels.
Yeah, we do. But scarcity is an economic motivator.
That on the other hand, the small batch does give you a better opportunity to kind of lab tinkering, if you will, because basically it's a lab experience. You're just trying to figure out when you're in the winery, you're trying to figure out, okay, how is this going to best work? So you start with what your gut tells you,
Yeah.
based on previous experience.
Yeah.
You start with what your gut tells you, and then you just kind of tweak it from
Yeah.
there. And I think I'm excited to see some of these new things that are going to come out, especially, my confession earlier that I preferred the barrel versus the Amphora, but now I prefer the Amphora versus the barrel. And you look at those things, and when you see it age, when you see it continue to develop as a wine, I think that's what's going to bring people in. They're going to be like, oh, well, these guys aren't afraid to try something new.
it's the same, man. That core demographic loves to try different stuff. I have to say, the way the Pennsylvania marketing team, teed it up there at Penn State was they had this slide, and they said, okay, there's two guys, and they're silhouetted out. You don't know who they are. They're both born in 1947, both from the UK, both from England, both English. Or Welsh, to your point, both from the UK, but British. They're both British.
British. Yeah.
One of them named Minnich or something?
No, but then they both love skiing in the Alps. They both make more than $1 million a year. They both
Definitely not me.
They both been married twice. They
Still
have
not me.
two
So
children from their first marriage. They both love this some blah 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 dog. I don't even remember. And it goes on and on.
They were
and on.
twins.
No,
I'm just
And
kidding.
then they show the picture, and it is. Well, he's now King Charles. He was Prince Charles and Ozzy Osbourne.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
So, I mean, the point is, demographically, you can't just think about, this is a white woman or a black man
Right.
or a member of the so and so tribe. What you can't that is an overly simplistic
Simplistic view of
way
it,
of
right,
thinking about your core demographic.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
So I thought that I have a picture of that slide.
Yeah, the
like, this
minute-
is the best thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
in
right.
my life.
that was actually,
I mean,
I like
it's
that.
quite the contrast, right?
Right,
King,
oh,
King
yeah,
Charles and Ozzy Osbourne. That's about as big of a
I do like
contrast
that.
as you get.
It's a very nice comparison, because it does exemplify how different the demographic of wine drinkers are. And you can't just say, okay, we're going to do it this way. And I love the fact that, if you do this, people are going to look at it and go, okay, so let's go to 1723 and see what they've got out new this year.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
that's the theory.
And
So we're gonna
no,
try 'em.
it's not just a marketing tool. It's a, what new wine can I discover?
yeah.
Well, that's what we're.
Well, some of Audrey and I go on wine tours, or well, I say wine tours, they're all self-guided, but some of our favorite
Wine adventures.
Wine
you guys,
adventures.
You guys do. You go to
Yeah.
a lot of cool places.
And,
Finger
you know-
Lakes, Virginia.
Yeah.
He's always quite kind to. Often he brings back a bottle, which I'm sincerely grateful for.
Oh no! I usually I do that because I want to share something that
Yeah.
we personally find plus, something
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
personally
no,
enjoy, and it's not meant to be anything other than we want to share this with you, Ben. I mean,
I mean it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I enjoy the ones you and I have very similar taste profiles. I enjoy the ones you bring. I'm very
some of
grateful for it.
our favorite experiences, though, are when we get to do the comparative views of the wines, what they are.
Yeah.
Okay. And I say I'm unabashedly a red wine person, but I'm just as appreciative if somebody comes out with me with a couple different whites and shows me different
good
styles,
white or sparkling,
or shows me different things. I found I really hate aged Rieslings, which is a big thing up in the Finger Lakes, but it wasn't my go-to.
But that's the beauty of wine,
But
right?
yeah, exactly.
Somebody likes it.
And again,
which is why
that's what
sell
I'm saying. It has nothing to do whether I like it or I don't like it.
Right.
But I appreciated the experience, and that's one of our favorite things is going in and having somebody, tell us about the wine being produced here and, what they're doing to create a fine, wine.
Those wine tasting experiences are invaluable.
Well, and
Right.
to y'all were talking about millennials earlier. They're looking for. I mean, everybody's looking for experiences, and I actually think
exactly.
that's going to lend itself really well to, what we do here on the East Coast, because so much of it is localized experiences.
Right.
Versus going into a liquor store and buying. Well, and believe me, that's great. Like I'm just saying. Like I actually think that as millennials begin to realize, like whether you're in New York and you can go out on the Finger Lakes, or on Long Island, or granted, going to the Finger Lakes for somebody in New York's a bit more of a journey, or but even somebody from Philly to come to here. Like I think they're really going to get into it once they realize the experiences that are available to them, kind of here in the Mid-Atlantic region.
And it is an adventure, and it's interesting because different areas that you normally wouldn't expect there to be wine, like Texas.
Right.
There's a lot of wineries. In the
It's
last
one of the
20
largest
years,
regions
it's
in the
gone
U.S., right?
Crazy.
Incredible. Yeah.
And we've done some wine tasting in Texas, and it's ridiculous.
Right.
I mean, they really have some good wines there.
Oh, yeah.
And so, because you're thinking, Texas, it's all dry. The tumbleweed goes flying across the road, in the wind. But the reality of it is there are some really, really. If you go up, in the northwest, of like Austin, where you've got hilly region and it dries quick, it's like you're starving the roots kind of thing, but there are new places now that you can go. And that's the great part about it, is that you don't have to go very far in most cases.
Right. And I think the other thing is we've found ourselves in an era where there are people like Ben who are willing to take a risk on a territory that wasn't originally known for producing good wine. No offense. I'm a Pennsylvanian.
You were one of the earlier ones.
I'm born in. I was born and raised.
Good wines.
The operative word is good.
Raised in Pennsylvania, and most of the wines that I had growing up that were Pennsylvania wines were terrible. Okay, I wouldn't pay a premium to be drinking this stuff. Okay, and that was the problem, right? I'd go to a vineyard or a winery in
Thanks for joining us, Richard.
So-called local area, and I'd be paying a premium for something that was worse than the $10 bottle that I grew up on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Why?
Exactly.
But I truly appreciate the people like you and Vala and Wavine. Have taken those risks and have not only taken the risk, but have embraced the terroir and the capabilities of this.
They
region
figured it out.
To produce a good wine, and then serve it up to those of us who enjoy this kind of thing. So,
that's great.
I mean, I can't tell you. I've told you this story before, Ben, but fortunately for the people on this, they haven't, so they're going to have to hear it now.
Well, now it'll be out there.
Yeah, this whole, where this vineyard was supposed to be townhouses at one point in like 2008.
High density
residential,
Yep.
and because of the economic slowdown in 2008, 2009, that fell through, and this thing was reparceled as agricultural, yada yada. But we saw the grapes being planted.
Yeah,
and we're like,
this could be fun.
This could be fun. Yeah. I hope it's good, though. Okay? I mean, that was our whole thing. Like, I hope it's good.
When we started talking with folks about it, they were like, y'all are doing dry wines, right? Like, we're doing dry wines.
And because we had seen many other people attempted in the area, and
Right.
they're with different levels of success. And I don't want to badmouth anybody.
No.
And you could also see them move from, say, a fine wine experience to a more commercial wine experience in some places. So we came here actually during your soft opening. I think it was in July.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was.
And Allison was our
Oh, wow.
server at the time. I got a picture of her, in fact, behind the bar. And
Good catch.
I caught it, man.
Reflexes like a cheetah.
I'm not going to waste wine. But we went in and it's like, yes, they got it. It's a good wine. And we've been here ever since, much to their chagrin, but we've been here ever since.
Appreciate
Yeah, and
the support. Been a good run.
Yeah, so even in their first years of wine producing, when the vines were still young.
Still young. I mean, you could. All right. And again, I don't mean to, I'm not trying to be snobbish. It was young wine.
Yeah.
So you knew what you were getting, but it was still a step above people who had been, in the area for decades. And you knew the potential was there, and the growth was, as long as, Ben stuck with it. And I got to talk to Ben, and I got to talk to Sarah, and I got to understand their vision of the place and understand what they're trying to do. And
Exactly.
I think they've hit the mark.
Yeah.
We try. Thanks, man.
Oh, it's-
We couldn't do it if it wasn't for you guys and supporting us. I mean that real sincerely. Like you
and-
can't. There's no.
Well, I wouldn't support you if the stuff was shit,
I was
man.
gonna say, man, I can't drink all this myself, so I gotta have some people to help.
There may be
So-
some editing to do later on.
I'm sorry, I forgot to warn you about the 7-second delay button that you're going to need.
But his comment is valid. We wouldn't keep hanging around. I mean, we've both been here since you opened. We
Yeah.
wouldn't keep hanging around if the wine wasn't worth
We
drinking.
tried. We
Right.
tried, man. Thank you
And
guys.
so you keep making good wine, and that's why we want to promote like the Amphora. I see the other one over there right now.
Yeah, I
It took me like 45 minutes to
To notice who
actually
was sitting
see
over
it.
there?
Yeah, I mean, but
You're focused.
Yeah,
There
we
it
haven't
is.
filled that one up
You're
yet.
very focused,
So it's
man.
on the
That's
list.
what it is.
Stuff to do.
well, yeah, I would like to say that, but I'm terrified because when I go out someplace, because David, you've thrown the gauntlet down. Now I'm obligated to buy a couple of bottles of wine for Ben.
Well, don't need to do that. But Dave is quite thoughtful and generous, and
He is.
in bringing back things. We have very similar.
Yeah, I
we-
found it
We
over
like
the
the
years
things.
that
Many
Ben
of the
and I-
many of the things that
I
he likes, I like too.
Yeah, it's funny. I have no capability to explain anything about what I'm drinking.
It's-
I can't use the words. I can't pull
think
out.
you're doing okay.
I can't pull out. Well, no. If you ask me to describe this, it's like, need steak. Very nice, well-rounded.
I think
sharper, right?
I don't
You know,
think that people
I
appreciate that
think-
versus
yeah.
the flowery.
But
language.
you know what I'm saying though is I've come to understand though that Ben and I share what appears to be a common interest in the palate.
There you
Yeah,
go.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And so when I come across something that sparks me,
No,
you know,
I've loved everything.
and every now and then I'm waiting for Ben to go, man, that was crap.
No. He brings back.
Well,
some
you
things,
know,
yeah.
if you share the palate.
I mean, what's funny is there's a we didn't even know this for years when we were friends, but there's a winery down in Virginia called Zephaniah who that turns out that's Dave and Audrey's favorite winery in Virginia, and we have mine too, and we got to know them through Kane Hickey, who is a professor at Penn State and is in charge of viticultural outreach to growers. He was quite good friends with the Hatch family who owns Zephaniah. Tremaine Hatch is also works for Virginia Tech and does grower outreach on behalf of Virginia Tech. Anyway, my point is
All right.
they have quite a. But we were speaking. We were here and we were talking about. Oh yeah, there's this winery. And like, oh yeah, we go there all the time.
yeah.
So anyway, but they were the ones in particular. The Hatch family at Zephaniah was the one that inspired me to plant Chardonnay, which is our flagship wine, and Tremaine and his dad.
Thank you for listening to that
Yeah,
inspiration.
no, well, I came and I drank it like, wow, this stuff is really good, and they granted they feature it in a blend called Three Captains White, but it's really quite good.
Good, yeah.
And has a little bit of Petit Mansing in it, and
Yeah,
Muscat too.
they
I
do
tried
grow
to do
that
I
down
tried to
there.
do the Muscat, and it didn't work here. It works real well for the hatches, but it doesn't work for me. didn't work for me.
Well, not everything grows
Everywhere,
really
right,
well
No,
everywhere. So
no.
yeah, and that's
Soils are different. The rain levels are different.
Oh,
the
but it
heat's
could be,
different.
as my dad said about drivers, could be a loose nut behind the wheel too. I don't know.
Yeah.
Tremaine and his dad been at it a little bit longer than I have, so they may have a
Yeah.
secret or two up their sleeve.
But on the other hand,
Yeah.
you guys are good.
Yeah.
You guys are good. Anybody got anything else to add?
Other than you guys, you guys got to finish up,
Finish
man.
up.
You got to wind it down.
Definitely.
Y'all been talking too much.
Yeah, I guess
I'm
so.
finished mine, but no, I'm
question,
good.
Question for you, Ben, on the Amphoras.
Yeah.
Again, one of the places we'd gone up to in the Finger Lakes is actually experimenting very heavily in the Amphora region. And
Yeah.
they had sandstone, they had clay, they had concrete. And
Oh,
they were
yeah.
doing
Yeah.
all different kinds of styles of amphoras. Can you give me any information on what the different styles impart?
Yeah, I mean,
or-
we would. So, whether it's correct or not, I don't know. But industry slang, we would an amphora we would say would be based in clay. So, if you use that, if you say it's an amphora, generally speaking, it should be clay. But concrete is an alternative to an amphora.
Right.
I like those a lot. I like the concept of those a lot too. They're slightly less porous. The bigger issue with concrete is they're so heavy you can't move them.
Right.
And there's a logistical issue in the winery once you set up those big concrete
Yes.
tanks and they're quite thick and they're heavy, and so your floor is designed for them. So there's a logistical challenge with them.
Right.
But I would be quite keen to try them because those Southern Rhone wines, especially down in Chateauneuf-du-Pape and Gigondas and some of those, they use concrete a lot. They have they all have slightly varying. I don't know about sandstone or sand. That one's a new one on me. But concrete versus
I
amphora.
could be wrong too, but
No, I'm sure you're
pretty
right.
sure.
I mean, people are experimenting with all sorts of different formats. Concrete versus amphora. Amphora is a little bit more porous.
Okay.
But a lot of people are doing concrete too. I just logistically, once you put the great thing about these amphoras is they're on a pallet, and if they're empty, even when they're full, they're quite easy to move. I mean,
Yeah.
these things don't weigh. I mean, the clay is quite light. When it's full, it's not. But I'm just saying,
Right,
I
right,
can
yeah.
put a pallet jack down. I can move them around
Move
anywhere I
around,
want,
yeah.
just like I can with a barrel. But a concrete thing like those weigh 10,000 pounds.
It
Right,
weighs,
right.
yeah.
And
They're-
we're small. As
The
y'all
heck
know,
of an
we're
investment
small.
at that point.
Well, they're about twice as much.
Well, I'm
dollar-wise.
talking.
Yeah.
You're investing in space too.
And
It's,
Yeah,
sometimes-
but
yeah.
it's also they're also about twice as expensive, and I just like the old school thing, but they're just more sentimental. There's no
Right.
basis in science, but both are considered quite good alternatives. What would be quite interesting, and maybe the next trip up, maybe we can go together. We should do a side by side of the concrete
Right,
and
yeah.
the clay amphora to see if we
I'd
can
love-
taste the difference.
I'd love that. I mean,
I suspect there will be a difference. I
There-
would further, just a hypothesis. I further would hypothesize that the difference wouldn't be quite as big as the difference between oak and either one of those.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I wouldn't
Right.
be a bit surprised
Yeah.
if there should be a difference, honestly, because concrete's not as porous.
right.
I will say I kind of want to do concrete because there is a risk that they say that I didn't see it here with this batch of PV, but that clay can raise the pH on the wine. We did not see that, and concrete's supposed to be better at preserving the pH. I don't know if that's true, but that's just a rumor that's out there.
Porosity, probably.
Perhaps, yeah. Anyway, I'd love to try. Anyway, it's on, dude. We're going.
All
back
right,
up
we're
and
going
try.
up, man.
That's awesome.
So that winery is further along in their journey with experimentation
Yes.
than me.
Yeah,
I'd be
that-
delighted to
that
go up there and learn
That
something.
seems to be what they were
so that's
endeavoring to do.
Yeah, no, I'd love to go. I'd love to
is
go up there and try
expand
it out and learn. I bet we could learn something.
I mean, I can tell you that they, like all experiments, some were good, some weren't.
Yeah.
But it was really an interesting thing to experience. And we did have one wine. Unfortunately, we just drank that bottle about a week or so back. It was really, really interesting because when we first tried it up there, we bought it up there 4 or 5 years ago, and I've had
Yeah.
it cellared.
Yeah.
When we first bought it, it had a bit of a funk, I would say. to
It'll
it.
happen.
Okay, but much more like an aged, like a long aged wine, even though it was a relatively short time in the Amphora or whatever it was. It came across as tasting something that's been aging for a much longer time. It kind of had that raisiny, pruny kind of stuff going
Right.
on. But when we had it, we opened it up, and no offense, it was with Allie and Gabriel. I warned them about this, and then we opened it up, and it was like really, the funk wasn't really there anymore. And it was, it like had settled, it had in the...
They evolve.
It evolved further in the bottle.
Nice.
And mind you, I liked it with the funk. But
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, but it does change,
Yeah,
as
no, it does.
So you're looking at that and saying, okay, do I hold it longer? And we've had those conversations, but sometimes you do. You hold it longer. We had one that we just opened up recently, and when we first opened it up, it was like we were like, are we going to throw this one away?
Right.
We paid good money for this.
Yep,
We're going to throw this away.
I do it all the time.
And then it sat there, and the second pour was phenomenal.
Yep.
So it had just enough aeration,
Yep.
to add that next level to it. And we were like that, and it was so distinct. You're thinking, wow, how does that happen?
Yeah. Anyway, but man, this has been fun, guys.
All right, so
I appreciate the invite.
Yeah.
hey everybody, thanks for joining us here at 1723 Vineyards. We got a whole bunch of people in the back.
I thought it was a button you pushed there for clapping.
Yeah. No, I did not push the button for clapping. That was real claps. So remember, everybody, we're going to be, by the way, we're going to be doing a new podcast 2 months from now in March. Journey More Often is actually going to go into a new place. It's called The Ultimate Journey, and we're going to be talking to Matt Grieco from Grieco Funeral Homes. Wait till you see how he brings the fun in funeral. I have no idea.
I'm not taste testing there, man.
But thanks for joining us today, and as always, enjoy life.